Welcome to the CBC. Holy Saturday version.
Holy moly.
Holy Saturday version of the CBC. This was quite the week.
It has been quite the week, yeah.
We started off with Palm Sunday.
Palm Sunday.
Which came together pretty good.
I thought so.
We had a lot of moving parts even on last Sunday, but the service itself, after trial and error, came out pretty decent.
I think so.
Yeah,
I think so.
Pretty amazing. And then as we slid into Holy Week.
Yeah, got into Holy Week, and we were quite busy.
Throughout the whole entire week.
The whole week, yeah.
And we slid into, because as we went through Holy Week, we were trying to get everything together for Maundy, Thursday.
Yes, yeah.
And for all those, I assume most of the people watching have watched the Maundy, Thursday service.
I would hope so. If not, you need to watch it because it's quite good.
And I want to give a shout out to all the people that took part. We had at least, 14, 15, 16 different people?
16,
that took part, that had speaking parts.
Yes, that had speaking parts.
Within, to include ourselves, obviously.
Right, well, yeah.
But they really stepped up. We had Robert over in Germany.
Yeah.
We had many people that were secluded at their homes.
Yeah, yeah.
Got out of the outside. We had birds chirping.
We did. That's pretty awesome.
We had an airplane go over.
And trucks drive by.
Now, I don't know how authentic the trucks and everything were.
I don't know.
But I thought it was absolutely
It was
hilarious.
cool, though. Yeah, I did, too.
Did you see Erin actually stop in the middle of her monologue? Mary Magdalene was in the middle of her monologue, for those that you didn't see, and it was either an airplane or a semi that went by, and I think she thought it was quite not authentic.
Well, but it made it.
But
see, it made it authentic because when she paused, it's like she was into the part, and what she was talking about really got to her. So it was. I thought it was excellent.
I thought it was. No, I'm not critiquing.
Oh no, I'm not either. I just thought it was excellent because it was like. Yeah.
It was something that an actress would have done.
Right.
I mean, she was top
It was
notch.
awesome.
But the Maundy, Thursday service was fun for us to put together.
Yeah.
And it was really neat to get to know some of the other people a little bit closer, because when you're filming and recording, you have a little bit different insight on people.
You do, because, they get to be themselves, and
ornery.
Right. No, we're not ornery.
No, not us. I'm talking about the
others. Okay.
Yeah,
The others, okay.
So that takes us to yesterday, which was Good Friday.
Yeah, Good Friday.
I got called into work yesterday, and Jason had to work on Good Friday also.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But it was a kind of a solemn day. But one of the things that I was able to, I actually found online when I was at work, was Pastor Dan from Tip City. He did a kind of a neat rendition of Good Friday, from the beginning at 4 a.m. in the morning, all the way through to when Jesus gave himself up after being crucified on the cross.
Right.
And the darkness in the early afternoon. Just as you watch the different stages of where he went, who he went to see, whether it was King Herod or Pontius Pilate, it just kind of allowed you to watch Jesus walk through that.
Yeah.
And also allowed you to know that all of this, that the cock crowing happened at 4 a.m.
Yeah.
Because when I never quite thought about it, I mean, I should have thought about it, but the cock crowing happens about 4 a.m. when the sun comes up.
I never thought about that. That's true.
So when the cock crowed was when Peter was like, he had denied him 3 times by that point.
Right.
And which means that Jesus was arrested right before that.
Right before that, yes.
And as it moves on into the rest of it, it all happens until 9 o'clock.
Yeah.
When he's put on the cross.
Put on the cross.
So there wasn't much time for him to go to King Herod, to Pontius Pilate, back and forth, depending on what gospel you were
You ever
reading.
wonder why they call it Good Friday?
Well, I know it was explained, but go
I know.
ahead.
I know it's off topic. That's another topic for another day.
That is another topic, but it also allows us, if it wasn't for Good Friday, we wouldn't have Easter.
This is so true. Absolutely.
And that's some of the stuff we're going to talk about here briefly, is what happened at the beginning of Easter.
Yeah.
And we just passed Good Friday. That brings us to Holy Saturday.
Holy Saturday.
We don't hear much about Holy Saturday.
No, you don't. You don't hear much about Holy Saturday. But think about it, because at that time, it was Sabbath. So you probably won't hear a lot about it.
See, now we think about the Sabbath being on Sunday, right?
Right. Yes, we do. So that's probably why we don't hear a lot about it, is because it was the Sabbath and people didn't go do things on the Sabbath.
And why didn't they?
Because that was God's day. That was God's holy day for them.
And it was against the law.
And it was against the law. At that time, it was against the law, yeah.
Because that's one of the reasons Jesus had as much issues that he did, is because he did things on
Well, he did things on the Sabbath.
On the Sabbath.
Right. And they didn't look kindly on that.
They were pretty
they crucified people for doing that stuff.
Pretty aggressive.
Yeah.
Pretty aggressive.
Yeah.
But we wouldn't have Easter if it wasn't for the crucifixion.
No, absolutely right.
So after we move out of Holy Saturday and the Sabbath, we have to assume that all the people on Holy Saturday was still kind of in a state of shock.
Yeah, I would think so, yeah. In like a grief state, trying to figure out what just happened and why.
Yeah, we had a lot of people that were on Palm Sunday shouting out to the Lord and so happy, and then on Good Friday, they were actually screaming, "Crucify him!"
Yeah.
And could you think some of them could have felt bad and had a lot of lament? At least the disciples had a lot of lament going into and through Holy Saturday.
You would hope so, anyways.
Yeah.
That people would regret what they did or said,
or the thought that is everything that Jesus taught us, will that all really come to pass?
Yeah, yeah.
Because as we learned on Palm Sunday, a lot of the guys were kind of turning their back on Jesus right before the crucifixion.
Yeah.
A lot of we have Peter, and we have all of them that are just doing stuff that they said they wouldn't do. But there was one of the disciples that no one really talks about, one that's not really part of one of the 12, Mary Magdalene, that stood by his side
the whole time. The whole time she was there, from the time they arrested him, the times they were beating him, and the time that they crucified him, up till the time that he took his last breath and gave up and went to be home with God.
Yeah, she was right there.
She was
at
there
the foot of the cross
the whole time. Can you imagine sit there and watch someone that you truly loved go through that, and the pain that it would cause you just to see that happen, and to feel that blood drip and splatter and spray, and the things that were said and the things that were going on? I mean, can you imagine sitting there and being and being in her shoes?
Her faith had to be something that was unmatched.
It has to be.
Her faith was something that we are going to read about here briefly as we get into the scriptures of what Mary Magdalene really was.
Yeah.
She was she was with Jesus while he was on the cross, before he was on the cross, and she was the first one to go to the tomb.
Right.
Which a lot of times you'll find people say different things about, and I know this is a touchy subject, but I would venture to say Mary Magdalene was the first evangelist.
I would have to say I agree with that.
And because she was told by the angels.
She was told.
And she was told by the gardener.
Yes.
Which happened to be Jesus.
Absolutely.
To go spread the word and tell the others.
Yeah, and she did.
And she did. She followed everything that was asked of her, and then some.
And then some. Yep.
So
Yep.
let's go ahead and get right into the different parallels of the different Gospels. We're going to go ahead and and start. Let's just start at the top and start here with Matthew. And we will go ahead and we're just going to read the stuff that of Mary Magdalene as she and the others come up to the grave, the tomb, and after the Sabbath. So here in Matthew 28, it says, "After the Sabbath, at dawn on the first day of the week," which was Sunday, "Mary Magdalene and the other Mary went to look at the tomb. There was a violent earthquake, for an angel of the Lord came down from heaven, and going into the tomb, rolled back the stone and sat on it. His appearance was like lightning, and his clothes were white as snow. The guards were so afraid of him that they shook and became like dead men. The angel said to the woman, 'Do not be afraid, for I know that you are looking for Jesus who was crucified. He is not here. He has risen. Just as he said, come and see the place where he lay, and then go quickly and tell the disciples he has risen from the dead, and he is going ahead of you to Galilee. There you will see him, and now I have told you.'" So
That's powerful.
right, Mary Magdalene is right there
Yeah.
with the other Mary. I assume his mom, right? Is that who this other Mary is?
No, the other Mary is the Mary, the
That's
mother
right,
of
that's
James.
right. Mother of James, that's
Yeah.
right. I apologize. And now we're going to go ahead and move over to Mark's version. And Mark's version, Matthew, Mark, and Luke's version are quite similar. And John's version is a little bit different.
A little bit different.
But
I can't wait to get to John.
I'm pretty excited about John also. You want to read
go ahead.
Mark's
You're
version?
good. You're good.
In Mark 16, it says, "When the Sabbath was over," once again signifying that it was Sunday morning, "Mary Magdalene and Mary, mother of James, and Salome brought spices." They went ahead and added another person there, Salome.
They did.
Bought spices so that they might go anoint Jesus' body. Very early on the first day of the week, just after sunrise, they were on their way to the tomb, and they asked each other, "Who will roll the stone away from the entrance of the tomb?" But when they looked up, they saw that the stone, which was very large, had been rolled away. As they entered the tomb, they saw a young man dressed in white robe, sitting on the right side, and they were alarmed. "Do not be alarmed," he said. "You are looking for Jesus the Nazarene, who was crucified. He has risen. He is not here. See the place where they laid him. But go and tell the disciples and Peter, he is going ahead of you to Galilee. There you will see him, just as I told you." Trembling and bewildered, the women went out of the tomb and fled, and they did not tell anyone because they were afraid until they got to Galilee.
Well, that's amazing how you get the same story from two different outlooks. And in Matthew, it doesn't say anything about Peter being told, but in Luke, it does. It just goes to show you that everybody's perspective of the same story and the same thing is a little bit different.
Well, I've been preaching about that over
Yeah.
the past couple months.
Yeah.
Is that you when you're looking at a story, and everybody has their own story.
Yeah.
And my story of coming to Christ and your story of coming
Yeah.
to Christ are
Yeah.
different.
Yeah.
But if somebody from the outside was looking at the way I came to Christ,
Yeah.
or the way Jason came to
Yeah.
Christ, they may tell it completely different.
They may tell it completely
They
different.
may tell different stories that we may want to keep to ourselves.
Right, yeah, right.
So, right? But that is just the way people are,
Yeah.
and the way they remember.
Yeah.
And what we're going to find as we move, this is going to be Luke next, when we move to John. John didn't tell his story until years and years and years. on
Yeah,
down the
he was
road.
an old man when that happened. Yeah.
But there's going to be certain parts of his story that
Oh,
he
yeah.
remembers. Okay, well,
We'll get there.
Again, we're
We'll
getting
get
excited
there.
about
We'll
John.
get there.
Okay, in Luke 24, it says, "On the first day of the week, very early in the morning, the women took the spices they had prepared and went to the tomb. They found the stone rolled away from the tomb, but when they entered, they did not find the body of the Lord Jesus. While they were wondering about this, suddenly two men in clothes that gleamed like lightning stood beside them. In their fright, the women bowed down with their faces to the ground. But the men said to them, "Why do you look for the living among the dead? He is not here. He has risen. Remember how he told you while he was still with you in Galilee. Jesus said, 'The Son of Man must be delivered over to the hands of the sinners, be crucified, and on the third day rose again.'" Then they remembered his words. When they came back from the tomb, they told all of these things to the 11 and to all the others. So again, they went ahead and told everyone,
Wow.
And then they went about, and then Peter and John and everybody raced back to the tomb.
You know, I just thought about something. You were talking about Mary being the first evangelist. Well, you're reading her call story.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Right.
We had to write one of them.
Yes, we did. We did have to write call stories, and it kind of makes you really think about where you were,
right?
Where God came to you, where He visited you, and how you respond to Him.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
So all in all, it's very very enlightening, to say the least. All right, now we're getting to John. John in the empty tomb.
I can cut it out. We're good. Okay.
Somebody's trying to call us.
You.
Somebody trying to call me.
Yeah. Okay. So now we're getting.
This story is being written many years after, when John was an old man. And at the time this was going on, John wasn't an old man.
No, right.
So just kind of pay attention. Early on the first day of the week, while it was still dark, Mary Magdalene went to the tomb and saw that the stone had been removed from the entrance. So she came running to Simon Peter and the other disciple, the one Jesus loved. When he talked about the one Jesus loved, this is John talking about himself.
That's John talking about himself, yeah.
And said, "They have taken the Lord out of the tomb, and we don't know where they have put him." So Peter and the other disciple, John, started for the tomb. Both were running, but the other disciple outrun Peter and reached the tomb first. So the other disciple outran Peter and reached the tomb first. He bent over and looked in the strips of the linen lying there, but did not go in. Then Simon Peter came along behind him and went straight into the tomb. He saw the strips of linen laying there, as well as the cloth that had been wrapped around Jesus' head. The cloth was still lying in place, separate from the linen. Finally, the other disciple who had reached the tomb first, John.
Yeah, John. Yeah.
Also went inside. He saw and believed. They still did not understand from Scripture that Jesus had risen from the dead at this point. Then the disciples went back to where they were staying, back in Galilee. Now, Mary stood outside the tomb crying. As she wept, she bent over to look into the tomb and saw two angels in white, seated where Jesus' body had been, the one at the head and the other at the foot. They asked her, "Woman, why are you crying?" "They have taken my Lord away," she said, "and I don't know where they have put him." At this, she turned around and saw Jesus standing there, but she did not realize that it was Jesus.
Yeah.
He asked her, "Woman, why are you crying? Who is it you are looking for?" Thinking he was the gardener, she said, "Sir, if you have carried him away, tell me where you have put him, and I will go get him." Jesus said to her, "Mary."
Mary.
She immediately turned around toward him and cried out, "Rabbi," which means teacher. Jesus said, "Do not hold on to me, for I have not yet ascended to the Father. Go instead to my brothers and tell them, I am ascending to my Father and your Father, to my God and your God." So Mary Magdalene went back to the disciples with the news, "I have seen the Lord," and she told them that he had said these things to her directly.
Wow.
So we have a race.
We have a race, and John won. See, he had it right. When you're getting chased by a bear, you only got to beat the other guy.
Yeah, that's exactly right. So John was obviously the younger of the two, and he beat old man Matthew.
Yeah,
and he was pretty proud of it. He didn't only mention it once; he
but
mentioned it twice.
Right? I wonder if when they went back, I wonder if he ran and beat him back to Galilee,
or he just taunted him the whole way.
or he did.
About how he, that's one of my favorite parts of that story. I know some things grab you whenever you read Scripture, but one of the things about this was when John wouldn't mention himself.
No, he wouldn't.
Yeah, he was real cautious about not saying that I did it,
right?
But he said the one that Jesus loved, and that we all know that was him.
That was him.
So I thought that was quite interesting.
Yeah.
But as we go through this, it also puts a different thought pattern, or re-emphasizes the fact that Mary was very front and center in this whole Easter story.
Yeah. And it shows how much she cared about each and every one of them, especially Jesus, but how she cared for each and every disciple that was with him, and how she took care of everyone, or tried to anyways, with the other women. But it just shows her character, and it shows her.
Right. And when she thought that Jesus was the gardener.
Yeah.
Remember I said earlier that her being the first evangelist, she was told not only by the angels, but she was told by the gardener.
Yeah,
which
by the
ended
gardener.
up being
Right,
Jesus.
right.
And she recognized Jesus because that she said Mary.
Mary. Yeah.
Have you ever had anyone in your past that had a name for you, or a way that they spoke your name that you will never forget?
Oh, yeah.
I know that my grandma, Rudy, she would always call me Marky, and when she would call me Marky, it was just one of those things that I'll never forget.
Yeah.
And if that was ever said,
Mike?
it reminded me immediately that that was Grandma.
Yeah.
I actually saw that my cousin passed away a few weeks ago, I guess about a couple months ago now, but my grandma's sister, my Aunt Babe, she called me Marky. And I didn't immediately think of her. I immediately thought of my grandmother.
Right.
And this has had to be something that that Mary had to immediately recognize, the fact that only one person could put the emphasis on Mary that way to her.
Yeah.
So there had to be a tone, there had to be a delivery. There's just something about Mary that made her think of Jesus and knew that it was him.
And it was an instant. It was just instant.
Well, Jesus also had the time here coming real soon when he was on the shoreline that the guys recognized him also.
Oh, yeah.
That he said.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
So yes, this is all coming together. And what all of these Gospels have in common is that it tells us that Jesus has risen. Jesus is with us.
Oh, yes, absolutely. He is with us. Even though we can't see him or touch him, he's with us.
The tomb was empty.
The tomb was empty.
So as we move into Easter.
Yeah, we're going to move into Easter. And it'll be a glorious day.
I think it's an exciting day.
It's an exciting day, but man, I get goosebumps when I think about it, because it's just like, you know what? Jesus is alive today, and he is real.
If you get an opportunity, and we're not going to be able to go through all of them because this is probably getting long the way it is.
Yeah.
But if you read from the time that that Mary Magdalene actually went to the tomb on through the end of the Gospels, it's not that much of a reading because it pretty much ends it up.
Yeah.
But you get the Emmaus story.
Yeah.
That happened that day. Yeah. Because Jesus, when Jesus came to them in Galilee.
Yeah.
They came to came to the two on their on the Emmaus Road
on the road,
experience.
yep. Yep.
And all of them going forward, it was an enlightening experience that we all should be able to experience every Easter.
Yep, yep.
As we have the solemnness and the sadness that goes along with Good Friday and the betrayal and the turning the back on Jesus throughout Holy Week, we can look at our own selves.
Yeah. Oh,
and,
yeah.
And as we look at our own selves, because think about the times that you have turned your back on Jesus.
Yeah, no, I don't want to think about that.
Right. And every time that you've turned your back on him, you have this opportunity now.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And every day of your life.
Yeah. Oh,
but
yeah,
especially on Easter, that you have a Good Friday right in front of you, which was yesterday.
Yeah.
And we have today as the day that we think about all the things that we have done.
Yeah. Yeah.
How we have betrayed Jesus.
Yeah.
And he died yesterday. But tomorrow morning, tomorrow morning, he will rise. He already has risen, but tomorrow is Easter, the day that he is risen. So, exciting, right? And it will be an opportunity for all of us to remember what he did for us when he did go to the cross.
Yes, absolutely.
When he died, when Mary and all the other disciples came and found him. Oh my goodness!
Yeah.
I know I'm getting excited, and Jesus is going to preach tomorrow.
No, I'm not.
Jesus is going to speak through you, but Jason is going to preach tomorrow.
Yeah,
and he's
Tomorrow's going to be a powerful day because Jesus has risen, and he is alive today. And tomorrow we're going to talk about that, and we're going to talk about some of the stuff we talked about today and Luke and that story and how it all unfolded and that road that the two disciples took and the 7-mile walk that they had in the journey to Emmaus and how Jesus came along beside them. That's just a little bit of what's happening tomorrow. So you just 10 a.m. tomorrow right here.
10 a.m. tomorrow. We look forward to seeing everyone, and I really enjoy the CBC Cafe.
I do too. It's a wonderful thing.
We're kind of silly at times, but the goal is to reach all you at home and to allow us to reach deep inside of ourselves. I mean, we get as much out of this as hopefully you guys do.
Yeah, definitely. Okay.
So see you tomorrow.
See you tomorrow.
You guys take care.
Bye-bye.